Hey, good morning, ninth grade. So we are well over halfway through with the book. So today's focus is on chapter 4. And a couple parts are going to happen today that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, ugly. Um, it's not easy to read. So I do have another optional Zoom meeting today at 11:20. I would love to discuss it. Today you don't have to post a discussion question as well as some people. We've been having too many technical issues with that, so it's just study guide questions. But please, please, please be thorough with your response. In particular, question 3, I'm going to be looking for your feedback on that. Question 4 and question 5, because those are not answers that you're going to find directly in the reading. They're going to be, what do you feel? What is your background? What is your insight with that? So the other thing I want to remind you is some of you have been, some responses have been looking very similar. And can two people think out loud together and sort of create a a similar answer? I suppose, maybe. But be careful that you're doing your own work. Integrity is always important. So that is your responsibility today, is to cover chapter 4. As always, I want to go back over the work for chapter 3 in case you wanted just to check some of your responses on that before going on. So momentarily I'll have chapter 3 questions for you. So question number 1 was about Susie's place, and that actually is in the wrong order. That should have been after question 3 if you're going chronological. And Susie's place has an impact on chapter 4 as well, so there's a reason why I included it. But it's a brothel. It's a business where women are paid for their companionship. And the regular people on the ranch hands like to spend their money and their time there. So that's what the purpose of having that mentioned in chapter 3. The second question, when talking to Slim about Lenny, George says, funny, I used to have a hell of a lot of fun with him. Used to play jokes on him because he was too dumb to take care of himself. He was too dumb to even know he had a joke played on him. Tell you what made me stop that. One day a bunch of guys was standing around on the Sacramento River, and I was feeling pretty smart. So I turns to Lenny, I says, jump in. And he jumps in. Couldn't swim a stroke, he damn near drowned before we could get him. And he was so damn nice to me for pulling him out. Clean forgot I told him to jump in. Well, I ain't done nothing like that no more. So this particular passage, one, it shows you how trusting and obedient and sweet and innocent and simple Lenny is, and he wants to please George, and he's just oblivious to the bullying at that point. For George, though, it shows us that he used to be cruel to Lenny, but now he's protective, and that George is able to learn from his mistakes. And I think George cares about Lenny through that. And Slim, Slim is an interesting character because a lot of you had him as your favorite and your least favorite. But he's able to solicit conversation from people. You know how you just sometimes can just talk to certain people? Slim is one of those men. And the people on the ranch admire him, trust him, like him. Okay, so the card games. This was not done to frustrate you, but and I guess maybe card playing is no longer a thing. But the two games that are mentioned in this chapter are solitaire and euchre. Solitaire is you play it by yourself, and in a way, it when George deals the cards for solitaire and Lenny happens to be there, it wouldn't be awkward for men to say, "Well, why isn't Lenny playing with you?" You know, because it's just solitaire. So it's a way to kind of build a wall mm, to create solitude, I guess, intentionally. And also on the euchre, then when he's playing that with the other men, that is a competitive, social, interactive game. So I think it's just showing us like kind of two different sides of George and how he can be isolated and contemplative in his head, and then also be very social with the others. Oh, okay, so Carlson wants to put Candy's dog out of its misery, and Candy wants the dog to remain alive. So who's right? We can pick sides on that, and I would say based on what I was seeing so far on the responses, it's about 50-50. About 50% of us think that the dog is miserable and it's blind and it can hardly eat and there's quality of life, and the others are saying, nope, that's Candy's dog, and that's no, it's a companion. It's not just a um, it's not just useful. That's not the purpose for it. But no matter what, you had to have a reason for it. So I kind of just went through the two there that I was seeing from people. I tend to fall on the side of that is Candy's dog is a companion and should not be killed simply because it's a burden. You don't get rid of things you love just because it's difficult to take care of them. That just goes against uh, my thinking, and pets are family in my household. It's not right or wrong, it's just how I feel. All right, so how much money? I think my math is correct on this, but Candy has about $300, 250 of it he got from that settlement on his injury. They make about $50 a month, so at the end of the month he'll have 350, or no, he'll have 300 at the end of the month. No, he'd have 350 at the end of the month. And Candy wants to belong. He wants to be able to tend the chickens and all of that stuff. So I guess the dollar amount is not crucial. It's just that a bulk of the money is coming from Candy. It's not just Lenny and George. Lenny and George are making $50 a month, but working on the farm. All right, so why does Curly attack Lenny? That's interesting, because what motivated that? All the men were talking about, well, Lenny and George and Candy were talking about the farm and the rabbits and how great what life would be, and he was kind of just smiling to himself. That has to be when Curly comes in looking for his wife, all that stuff. Sees Lenny smiling, thinking that Lenny is mocking him, picks a fight. And who knows why a little guy picks a fight with a big guy. But George says, get him, and that all it takes, and Curly at that point had been beating on Lenny. And the minute George says, get him, he does. Starts crushing his hand. The minute he tells George, or George gives the command to start, to get him, then he's trying to get Lenny to let go. So again, we can understand that Lenny is completely obedient to George. Also, though, that he's pretty strong and reckless, and sometimes George can't control it because George would have wanted him to let go a heck of a lot sooner than he did. So being that Curly has now been injured pretty badly, they have to take him to the doctor or hospital at the end of that chapter. Slim comes up with a story because Curly is the boss's son. So if Curly goes to the boss and says, Lenny hurt me, that would create a problem. Slim likes Lenny. He's honest. He's hardworking. He can do the work of 2 or 3 men, and he's on Slim's team. So Slim wants to protect Lenny so Lenny doesn't get kicked off the ranch. So he tells Curly to tell him that you just got your hand stuck in a machinery. That way Curly's got a reason to be at the hospital and his hand is injured and Lenny is protected. And also then Curly won't be embarrassed by getting beat by the limited Lenny. Okay. All right, that is my discussion for Chapter 3. Good luck with Chapter 4. And all right, we are on the home stretch.